guys, Mapletail here. Today is my reaction to and review of the newest super edition in the Warrior Cat series, Stormclan's Folly. So spoiler warning for the entire book. And we're trying. Well, it took me a while to decide, and it's probably going to be a couple things because this is a long one, so it'll be up on screen. Before hopping in, I just wanted to mention that my commission info for 2025 to 2026 has been updated. So if you were looking to get some custom art from me, I'm available. I've also opened up a Ko-fi if you were looking for another little way to support me. Links to both will be in the description. I appreciate it if you check it out. Alright, let's get into it. I've already read and talked about the first few chapters when the preview was released, so we're skipping right to chapter 4. It's a Stripe Star POV. We start off a little after where we left chapter 3. Our protagonists have just won a battle for Sunning Rocks. When Galestar said she only had one regret and looked at Pebblenose in distress, I feared the worst. Were we burying our gays before we even got real confirmation that he and Thrushcall are a couple? Luckily no, but Pebblenose did accidentally kill RiverClan warrior Turtlesnap in the fight. Such a cute name. I feel like a lot of the names in this book are actually pretty nice. A lot of unique ones, which is nice to see after so many named characters. The gathering in the aftermath was a mess. Stripestar and Galestar are looking very cozy and decide to keep working together for the benefit of the clans and themselves. The other leaders are understandably none too thrilled, and it's clear that this will only be the start of their problems. Chapter 5 takes us to WindClan. It's been moons since that gathering. We learn that Pebblenose has been lost in grief and guilt at what happened. Not even Thrushcall is able to get him to talk. I see you, Thrushcall. But more importantly, Galestar has been sneaking off to see Stripestar, which is what Pebblenose confronts her about. We get to see one of those meetings, and I can see why he's worried. It's pretty clear the two have feelings for each other. Even though their clans are doing much better than when they first forged their alliance, neither is happy, because that means said alliance has run its course. But they end up agreeing to keep meeting up as friends. Sure, y'all, whatever you say. It's a bit of a shame that these things always end badly, as I think there's actually a lot of potentially interesting moments to be had between two leaders sharing their struggles together. Struggles that only another leader could fully understand. Clan leaders typically feel like such solitary figures. It must be nice to have someone to lean on who gets it. Back with Stripestar. Wow, we are getting right to it, huh? This book is so anti-slow burn, I swear. Skipping over all the fun early romance stuff, straight to being in love and it being time for them to stop hiding it from their clans. As if they don't know. It's been 2 seasons since the last chapter? 6 moons? A long time, but also wildly fast for Stripestar to have totally moved on from Fogdrift. Though let's be real, he was over it in like an afternoon. Fogdrift, I barely knew you, but I'm sure you deserved better than to die for this man's tragic backstory that he hardly cares about. I just don't even understand why she existed in such a way to begin with. The story would have worked exactly the same without her, or if the two had just simply broken up. Her death was hardly necessary to push the story forward. I mean, she didn't even add any juicy drama between Galestar and Stripestar. Just happened and was quickly moved on from. A little pointless in my opinion. Poor Fogdrift. Anyways, the two are scared to share the truth with everyone. So far only Pebblenose is aware, and it weighs on him heavily. Stripestar proposes that they join their clans as one. The two lied to themselves about RiverClan and ShadowClan possibly starting to work together, so really WindClan and ThunderClan needed to come together. Oh my god, and Galestar's already pregnant. No wonder they're pushing for this so hard. The two being so worried about Galestar's kits being questioned made me miss the Arc 1 days a bit. Back then it was completely up to the mother if she wanted to share who the father of her kits was. Though I understand that a leader without a mate, having a litter, would definitely raise a couple eyebrows, or whatever it is cats have. So they gather Wind and ThunderClan, and come clean. Thrushcall is the first to call out in confusion. Don't worry, I noted him standing shoulder to shoulder with Pebblenose. I am surprised just how much these two are being mentioned together. It really does feel like we're meant to read them as mates, without them actually being brave enough to put the words on the page. I'll keep holding out a very cautious hope for just that, though. Well, wait. Does that say what I think it says? Am I reading that right? Thrushcall, Stripestar guessed. He was standing shoulder to shoulder with Pebblenose, whose expression was every bit as grim as his mate's. Wow, I really have to read whole sentences properly before I start writing. Oh my god. Okay, Huge congratulations to Pebblenose and Thrushcall, our very first LGBT plus cats to be confirmed in a novel. Oh my god. What a time to be a Queer Warriors fan. Can I just have a book about them instead? Even just a novella? As a treat? Ravenpaw and Barley being confirmed in the graphic novels was amazingly shocking enough, but I still never thought we'd get gay cats in the novels too. It's almost as though they're testing the waters, starting with the graphic novel adaptation, then a super edition. Now it's just bringing us energy to the main series. Hype. Preferably with some she-cats? Frostdawn and Whistlebreeze, I'm looking at y'all. I am living for this new era of warrior cats. Okay, right. We're reading a book. Let's get back to that. Everyone is angry and confused at the idea of becoming Stormclan, until Stripestar announces Galestar's pregnancy, and that it must be a sign from StarClan that all is meant to be. I cannot believe it works. Pebblenose was so sweet about it though. He and Galestar had been unable to have kits when they were together, and he's clearly thrilled for his former mate. A welcome reaction. Everyone else is wild for going along with this though. This would not work any other time. 3 days later, we are spending a lot of time with Stripestar. I'd love to see a bit more about what Galestar is feeling. But our leaders and their medicine cats, Stoneflower, Golden Leaf, cute name, and Kestrelwing, go to the Moonstone in hopes of actually receiving StarClan's blessing. Kestrelwing gets a bad feeling, and I can't help but agree. There is no way this will go well. But what started is started, no going back. They see Thunderstar and Windstar, and do a great job at pissing them both off. They curse Stripestar and Galestar to walk in darkness for all their moons without StarClan to guide them, and promise to strip them of their 9 lives if they continue down this path. Okay, no, I'm calling bull. Tigerstar did this exact thing in The Prophecies Begin with TigerClan, but with malicious intent. Well, StarClan sat back and watched. Not to mention all the other horrible leaders who devastated their own clans and the clans around them. You're trying to tell me this is StarClan's line? If this is an attempt at a retcon, it's a sad one. Just ridiculous. I understand why StarClan is upset and all, but they are getting way too involved for my taste. They can't just pick and choose their battles like this. Stripestar and Galestar do choose to reject StarClan, and their extra lives are ripped away from them. Yeah, cause these two deserve that more than Tigerstar or Brokenstar did. Sure. Wow, that was an emotional roller coaster. I don't think I've ever been so overjoyed and so angry all in one chapter. Moving on. Chapter 7 is finally with Galestar, if we can even call her that anymore. It's another gathering, one where news of Stormclan's formation is shared. It goes about as well as expected, which is to say, not well at all. We get a little peek into the life of Stormclan next, in ThunderClan's old camp. Galestar is stuck in the nursery, dealing with a difficult pregnancy in a hot season without rain. Her and Kestrelwing have a nice conversation where he tries to keep her spirits up, and I found myself quite liking the old ThunderClan medicine cat, just as Galestar also warms to him. But no rain means prey is scarce, and with rumors of Snakestar and Birchstar meeting in secret in fear of StormClan, I imagine trouble is right around the corner. Okay, I didn't mean right now. The two smell smoke. The forest has caught fire. They evacuate the WindClan camp, or rather they try to. Galestar goes into labor on the way, because of course she does. And it's rough. She goes through unusually intense pain, enough to cause her to pass out. Maybe it's for the best she wasn't awake for the next part. It only gets worse. So much worse. Her 3 tiny kits are born, but it was too soon, and none of them make it. Wow, I was not expecting that. I knew she had kittens in Ivypool's heart, so I just assumed these were those kittens. This might very well have been mentioned in that book and I just forgot about it, but oh my god, what a thing to forget. Maybe I've blocked it out. Such a tragedy. A tortoiseshell warrior echoes my own thoughts, that this is a punishment from StarClan. It certainly feels that way, but I certainly wouldn't say it in front of 2 grieving parents. Pebblenose was thankfully there to shut that down. But maybe if StarClan wanted to break up StormClan, they shouldn't have, I don't know, burned down one of their camps. Everyone is stuck in WindClan's old camp now. Even through all of Galestar's pain and how poorly everything is going, through fire and agony and loss and death, she still sees flowers regrowing on ThunderClan's territory and takes it as a good sign. One of renewal, and rebirth for Stormclan. Stripestar doesn't fare much better. He struggles to rebuild a single den in the scorched ThunderClan camp. Stormclan moved back to the forest to starve. The leaders decided to ask Birchstar and Snakestar for help. I can't imagine they'll get any. Stripestar takes RiverClan, and while Birchstar is slightly sympathetic, she refused to help, which is so valid. It went even worse with ShadowClan, and we learn that Galestar threatened to leave the forest. Once the idea is planted, our protagonists think it might actually be the best option. All that's left is to tell everyone. We skip past seeing that announcement, but we do see the aftermath. Galestar's sister, Crowflight, wants to stay behind and return to the moor. We also learn that she and Galestar are descendants of Windstar. I'm not sure if they meant that in like a literal way, which would be cool, or just in like a general Wind Clan way. As Stormclan prepares to leave, many cats go, but many also choose to stay, unsure if they'll end up as rogues or just join one of the other clans. But they must eventually reform ThunderClan and WindClan, as we know those clans don't just end here. I kind of wish we got a list of who went where. Like an extra allegiances halfway through the book. Looks like Pebblenose and Thrushcall are among the journeying cats though, so that's nice. Prey runs better as they travel, but there are troubles too. Like a tangle of thunder paths that need to be crossed. It takes all day, but going in pairs, all the cats make it across safely. Almost. The final cat, Kestrelwing, stumbles, and it's a death sentence. And it was described in horrifying detail. It was a lot, even for warrior cats. Horrible. There's hardly anything left of the poor guy. That night, a WindClan warrior, Petalstep, abandoned Stormclan to maybe become a kitty pet. After having to witness Kestrelwing's death, I kinda get it. Even a moon into the journey, Stripestar seems to be having the time of his life as he approaches the mountains. I'm assuming we're gonna run into the tribe of Rushing Waters soon. It's also here where we lose another cat, Rosebush, who had been injured in the crossing of the Thunderpath. He couldn't quite make the jump in the treacherous mountains and fell to his death. Devastating. I'm starting to get really worried about Pebblenose and Thrushcall. Stormclan is dropping like flies, and I'll be furious if either of them end up among the casualties. Speaking of, the two have had enough. They call out Stripestar, wanting him to take all the horrors they've faced as a sign to give it up and go home. I can't help but agree. Surely all this loss is not worth one relationship, and yet they continue on, running right into the tribe. Gust and Lightning take them to their camp to meet Stoneteller. Stripestar takes their Wind and Thunder names as a good sign. Feels like a stretch to me. A sign from who? Certainly not StarClan at this point. He and Galestar meet with Stoneteller, a silver she-cat, and she tells them that the clans and the tribe's stories are one. That the clans once came from the tribe, which anyone who's read Dawn of the Clans would be familiar with. Stripestar even vaguely remembers being told tales of Greywing and Clearsky when he was a kid. Stoneteller also has a warning for them, not to end their journey at the lake without end. Sounds like the ocean to me, which makes a lot of sense considering we know things take a turn for the worse around there for Galestar, from Ivypool's Heart. And to watch for the fish with legs, as it will lead the way, which I haven't a clue as to what that means. She also assures them that they will leave behind a great legacy, but it will be hard fought. There is darkness ahead. A storm is coming. Very ominous. Devastating news the very next chapter. Pebblenose and Thrushcall decide to stay behind in the mountains. I don't want to read over half this book without them. At least this means they won't perish on the journey. And the two were called mates another 2 times, which made me happy to see. But still, very sad. It makes Galestar start to worry that this dream of hers and Stripestar's is folly. Title. Well, Stripestar reassures her. You can see the cracks forming between them from the stress of the journey. They also mention kits. Stripestar is sure that this is what the legacy Stoneteller mentioned referred to. Well, I know they do have another litter. Children are definitely not the only way to leave a legacy. Stormclan leaves the tribe, as well as Pebblenose and Thrushcall. A week passes, the mountains finally left behind, and they find more familiar territory. Really familiar. Like what sounds to be the moon pool? That night, it seems Stripestar has had a nightmare, but he hides what it was from his mate. Strange? Stripestar sees a fox-head-shaped mountain in the distance, wondering if it could be what Stoneteller warned them about. I recognize it from Ivypool's heart myself. He then thinks of his dream. A mountain. A gull soaring in a stormy sky. A rock with legs? Crabs, maybe? I vaguely remember those being in the other book. Is that the fish with legs, too? It turned to leaf-fall as they traveled. They come to an apple forest, which also sounded familiar. I'm not sure if I mentioned it yet, but Stripestar has also been growing resentful that the clan seems to listen to Galestar more than him, which is annoying of him. I brushed it off the first couple times, but it seems that he's definitely feeling that. He put the clan at risk of two-leg danger just to have them go along with his plan, which was a wild choice. They run into two-leg kits as they try to steal food, and we're introduced to Flash, a former kitty pet, then Wind Clan warrior. How is this the first mention of this character? They do get a bit of food, but are chased out by two-leg adults. I'm just shocked no one was killed or captured. Off-brand for this book. The season changes once again, and it's Leaf Bear. Stormclan has an old two-leg den to shelter in. The camp was good, but distance continued to grow between the leaders. It sounded like Stripestar was taking issue with Flash, too, who had been invaluable in helping the clan settle safely. What is Stripestar's problem? It turns out, much of the distance was due to neither cat dealing with the grief of losing their kittens. Which, yeah, fair enough. At least that's how Galestar is feeling and what she assumes Stripestar is feeling. We never really get confirmation from his POV. The two grieve together and honor those they've lost. It was a nice moment. Time passes. Stormclan becomes happier, more settled. Kits become the first Stormclan apprentices. Galestar is hopeful that their troubles are behind them. I am not. We're only about halfway through the book after all. Former ThunderClan cat Fern Whisper and former Wind Clan cat Huntheart ask to speak privately with the leaders. I know immediately what's up. They've got to be expecting kits. They aren't being sneaky about it at all. Galestar has feelings about it, of course. And the fact that Stripestar doesn't makes her feel even worse. Especially when Stripestar declares that these are the first true-born Stormclan kits. Ouch. But Goldenleaf has a vision. That of the symbol of Stormclan, much like we saw in Ivypool's heart. It was now New Leaf, the kits born. Wind Kit, Rain Kit, and Lightning Kit. 3. Just like Galestar and Stripestar's lost litter. Devastating for her. Things were going very well for the clan as a whole. Until they weren't. A monster, headed straight for the den. I knew it was all too good to be true. Stormclan does their best to fight back against the two legs, but in the end, they lose their home once again. It's been another moon, and a new home is nowhere in sight. Galestar wants to return to the mountains, while Stripestar wants to keep searching. They end up in a nasty-looking swamp for a time. Galestar has a nice moment reassuring the kits, but it's clear how worried she is about finding a home. The leaders continue to have problems. Stripestar keeps favoring the former ThunderClan cats, always choosing them for patrols. I was glad Galestar called him out on it, but then she went ahead and only chose Wind Clan cats. On the hunting patrol, Hairwhisker suddenly collapses, as does Mudsplash. Something is horribly wrong. They're brought to the medicine cats, but they'll live. It seems like it was something they'd eaten, but the swamp will make them all sick eventually. They have to go. Galestar wants to be anywhere but here, and Stripestar just doesn't want to go back to the mountains, and refuses to tell Galestar why. The two and Deputy Tinyclaw get into a huge fight about it all, and Galestar realizes she's made a terrible mistake from the very beginning. She never should have left the forest. Messy. Stripestar admits to himself how horrible the swamp really is, but can't bring himself to tell Galestar. I kinda understood why he didn't want to share his ominous dream about the mountains and worry his mate even more, originally, but clearly not communicating with her as to why he's afraid is doing far more harm than good. Just talk to her. She'd be happy to find somewhere else that isn't the mountains if she knew why that was a bad option. He worries it'll cause her to doubt Stormclan's future, but she is obviously already doing that. Idiotic behavior. The swamp cap gets even worse as they are attacked by a large stoat-like creature. They fight the beast the best they can, but it manages to get to the sick cats, horror flooding through Stripestar as he realizes he isn't going to make it to them in time. Mudsplash awoke to see the creature bearing down on him. He didn't even have time to scream before the thing tore into his neck. It was awful. They're really going for it with the deaths in this book, huh? Damn. They get their revenge, holding the animal's head underwater and drowning it. And apparently, Mudsplash actually isn't dead. Truly shocking he survived what I just had to read. But I'd be even more surprised if he doesn't end up going the way of Rosebush. Injured now, only to die later because of it. They settle a little further into the marsh, unable to go far until Mudsplash recovers, or more morbidly, and more likely, dies. It took half a moon of pain and failed attempts to heal him with unfamiliar herbs, but eventually he succumbed to his injuries. Galestar tells the clan that they will head for the fox-shaped mountain, much to Stripestar's horror. If only he'd talk to her or something. This guy. Galestar even asks him one more time for one good reason they should not go towards the mountain, and he says absolutely nothing. Everything that comes next, I will be blaming entirely on Stripestar's silence. Stripestar is pissing me off so much. He has the audacity to be angry at Galestar for taking charge and trying to lead the clan to a safe home. Either talk to her, or get over it, my guy. Don't just be upset at her for doing the best she can. For everyone, will you continue to hide important information from her? Stripestar thankfully decides to let go of his anger, as Galestar already has. They arrive at the mountain, Stripestar carrying Rain Kit on his back. Would be very cute if he wasn't annoying me so much. Okay, it's still pretty cute. They find a nice plateau and make camp. Another moon passes. Hunting has been hard, but things are starting to look up as they catch a hawk. The leaders have even rekindled what they once had. But another 2 moons change everything. Greenleaf was brutal on the mountain. The very ground too hot to walk upon. The clan starving once more. The water drying up. Almost every warrior goes out hunting. A last-ditch effort to catch a hawk, leaving the camp and the kits vulnerable. Stripestar finds a hawk, but one with a heartbreaking target down below. Rain Kit. It scoops her up in its talons. Her mother tries to grab her back, but loses her grip. There's nothing more to be done, but watch as the hawk and the little white kit disappear into the sky. Oh my god, what the hell? It's the final straw for the Kit's family, the 4 of them deciding to abandon Stormclan and try their luck back in the forest. Stripestar can hardly blame them, and neither can I. In fact, I blame him. The clan calls for a meeting. They all want to return to the forest, and surprisingly, Galestar agrees. So they begin the journey home. That is not what I thought was going to happen. I'm really trying to remember Ivypool's heart. I know what happens to Galestar, but unsure exactly when or how now. They make it back to the apple forest. Galestar is tired and doesn't want to eat. She realizes she hasn't felt this way since. She trails off, but it's pretty obvious she's expecting kits again. I've seen these books set that up enough times to recognize it in an instant. She tells Stripestar that night. But something else happens that night too. Goldenleaf has another vision. She tells the clan that Kestrelwing came to her and showed her their new home. Not the old forest at all, but sandy shores and a lake with no end. So the very place they were warned against then? What could possibly go wrong? Literally everything? Good luck, Stormclan. A half moon later, they're living in the sun-drowned place, and it isn't the safe haven they were promised. What? No way! Weather is bad, and the prey is scarce. They know they can't stay, but have to until the kits are born and big enough to travel. On another attempt to hunt, Stripestar and Tumbletail are caught by 2 legs. Stripestar also getting a nasty bite from a rat. They manage to escape, but have little to show for it. And by the time they make it back, Galestar is in labor. 3 healthy kits born. Pebble Kit, Thrush Kit, and Fog Kit. Named for my faves, as well as Stripestar's former mate. Very sweet. Probably the only time he's thought of her since her death. Time passes and the kits grow old enough to venture outside the nursery. Galestar's happy, but things still nag at her. Like the healed injury that Stripestar had gotten the day the kits were born. The one he'd lied to her about. Stripestar's lack of communication skills strike again. On a patrol, Stripestar steps on something horrifyingly familiar. An object with 5 legs, like the petals of a flower. A fish with legs. I'ma be so real. I still have no idea what this thing is supposed to be. If you know, please leave it in the comments. Above him, a single gull in a stormy sky. The fox-shaped mountain. Just like he'd seen in his dream. Here we go. They did exactly what they were warned against by Stoneteller. By Stripestar's dream that he kept hidden. He could have prevented what comes next. But he chose his silence, his secrets. And it will cost him dearly. Oh my god, yikes. He didn't keep it hidden. He told Tiny Claw. He confided in his deputy, while his mate and co-leader was kept in the dark. He screwed up so badly. Waiting until it was too late to tell Galestar. She can't leave now. The kids are too young. And she's validly, very much lost her trust in Stripestar. The storm arrives. Water flooded into the nursery. In fear, Galestar leads her kits out. The sand below is flooding too as the lake rises. Only way to go is up, so up they go, the clan following Galestar. They make it to shelter, but Thrushkit and others are injured in the climb. Days pass, and there's a break in the storm. Time to leave. Galestar and Kits lag behind, further and further, as Stripestar takes the lead. But as the storm worsens again, Spotnose nearly falls to her death, being saved by Berryfall and Stripestar. In the chaos, Galestar and her children disappear. Stripestar searches and searches in the wind and the rain to no avail. They have no choice. They have to leave without them or risk the rest of the clan's lives. So they do. The storm ends the next morning. Stripestar restarts his search for his family. But I know all too well he'll never see them again. It's heartbreaking. Stripestar blames himself for the terrible loss. And yeah, me too. We see what really happened to Galestar next. Her losing track of her clan in the storm, falling behind as she tried to keep her kits together. They were lost. Galestar opting to take shelter instead of continuing on to stumble around in the dark. Suddenly, the sound of rocks falling, then darkness, as the mouth of the cave they were sheltering in was blocked off. They were trapped. Wildcats to the rescue! The little family is freed by Bound Hunt, Huntfly, and Whispergroom. I definitely recognize at least Bound Hunt from Ivypool's story. Their kindness is refreshing after all the suffering in Stormclan. They take Galestar and Kits to their camp to rest and eat. They sleep too long. More rain comes to wash away the last chance of Galestar finding the scent trail of Stormclan. But honestly, it's probably for the best. A moon passes. Stormclan returns to the two-legged inn where they once stayed, a stop on their journey back to the forest. Goldenleaf has yet another dream, a sign that Stormclan must become thunder and wind once more. Without Galestar, there's no reason to continue on as one. Stripestar isn't happy about it, and annoyingly still on about how cats only listen to Galestar, but everyone else is in agreement. Back with Galestar, she had searched for her clanmates every day for a moon, which is clearly a lot more than they did for her, but it seemed they'd moved on. Bound Hunt searched with her now, and he's there to comfort her when she gives up. Bound Hunt is such a sweetheart, oh my god. He tells Galestar that he's grown fond of her and her kits, and hopes that they will stay with the Wildcats. But he also completely respects that she isn't sure where her future lies, and that her heart still belongs to Stripestar. And under the light of the full moon, the clan cats are officially accepted into the Wildcats group, for as long as they want to call it home. The kits earn their names, Thrushroll, Fognuzzle, and Pebble Lunge, from the Wildcat ancestors. And Galestar is also offered a name and guide. Rise Stretch speaks to her through one of the Wildcat elders, giving her the name Gale Rise. It's quite a lovely moment, and I'm happy for Galestar, who thinks to herself that she's never felt so cared for and loved. I'm glad she'll get to live out a much kinder life, one without the responsibilities of a leader in the darkest of times. She's more than earned it. Things continue to go poorly for Stripestar, WindClan abandoning them in the night to journey alone. I understand why they wanted to break up Stormclan, but this is a bit of a crazy move. Stripestar announces his plans to step down as leader once they make it home, and to beg StarClan to take ThunderClan back. I kind of wonder if he'll actually go through with it. Either way, they make it to the edge of their old home as the chapter ends. With Galestar, we get to see Bound Hunt training the kits, which was adorable. And cool to see how their traditions differ from the clans. But Galestar is conflicted, still speaking like she plans to return to the forest. So Bound Hunt speaks to her about it. The random mention here of she-cats being the ones to do all the grooming in this group was a little odd. But the two share a nice moment, and I understand why Galestar is unsure. She feels at home here, but it's a big change for her. It is complicated. It takes a nearly terrible event to pull her mind in a wildcat direction. Pebble Lunge is nearly grabbed by an eagle, Bound Hunt managing to take it down and save him. It's clear he and the kits have bonded. Super sweet. I love that he cares for them as well as Galestar. Back with Stripestar, WindClan seems to have beaten him home. He crashes an impromptu gathering as Snakestar and Birchstar discuss what to do with all the returning cats. They aren't thrilled about it. Everyone is mostly furious at Stripestar, him taking the brunt of the blame for it all. None more than WindClan, who feel as though he abandoned Galestar. Which, yeah, fair enough. Galestar's sister is also devastated by the news, but they leave it up to StarClan to decide what to do with the former Stormclan cats. But first, Galestar's final chapter. Her kits are made prowlers, the wildcat version of warriors. And Galestar's guide has a message for her. He shows her her future among the wildcats. She's older, with a litter of 4 newborn kits. Her older kit's grown, and a mysterious mate. Obviously Bound Hunt, come on. She walks with him late that night. She's decided she wants to live out her life as a wildcat, and confesses her feelings to Bound Hunt. I am so pleased for her. Gale Rise. ThunderClan works to rebuild itself. TinyClaw taking charge, taking in loners and kitty pets to build up their ranks. I do hope she ends up as leader at the end of all this. She's working hard for it. We'll see as Stripestar goes to speak with StarClan. The clan's founding leaders speak to him, and the cats he's brought with him. They are still angry, but they accept ThunderClan back under some conditions. Stripestar will no longer be leader, and StormClan will never be spoken of. In addition, there is a punishment. The memory of what he'd done will drive him to serve ThunderClan every day, and should he have more kits, they too will feel this pull to protect their clan no matter the cost, though they will not understand why. That's a bit of a wild move. Maybe let's not put that on innocent kits who had nothing to do with this? Though it does make me wonder who his descendants are. Stripestar becomes Stripe Bark once more. And White Step becomes White Star? Okay. At least TinyClaw wasn't upset and actually looked relieved. Many ancient cats give White Step her 9 lives, but also Kestrel Wing and Rosebush. And it's Fogdrift and Rain Kit that give her her final 2 lives. Devastating. White Star also chooses Tumbletail as her deputy. So we're just completely overlooking TinyClaw then. Okay. Seasons pass and ThunderClan reclaims much of their territory, including Sunning Rocks. Come on. WindClan struggles to do the same now under Crowstar's leadership. The chapter ends, and the book, with Striped Bark vowing to never forget Galestar, and to never forgive himself for losing her, scratching the symbol of StormClan into the ground before swiping it away. The past is gone. Thanks for watching. Oh my god, Stripestar's ending is so much more depressing than Galestar's. But yeah, I really quite like this book. I thought the travel was a lot more engaging overall than Ivypool's Heart, so that's a win. I really love Gale Rise, and it was cool to get a closer look at this era and story. And gay cats. In a warrior's book. I literally never thought I'd see the day. Pebblenose Thrushcall novella when? I do hope this is only the beginning of more representation though. There is much more that could and should be done. What else? Oh yeah, StarClan was wild this book. Derogatory. And I'm glad that Gale Rise avoided more unhinged, overly aggressive punishment from them. I also read a couple people pointing out that maybe StarClan can only strip cats of their 9 lives at the Moonstone. So, for example, if Tigerstar never returned there after forming TigerClan, then there was nothing they could do about it. I'd accept that explanation if that's consistent. But what was with Kestrel Wing giving the vision to Goldenleaf that they should go to the Sundrown place? That really seemed to benefit absolutely no one, aside from Gale Rise and her kits, I guess, who ended up with a happy ending because of it. Maybe he did it for them. Oh, and I'm really not a fan of Stripestar. Can't win them all. I'm sure there's more, but this was already so much. Let me know what you thought about Stormclan's Folly if you've given it a read, and I'll see you next Thursday.